Alright, here it goes. I don't know if I need advice or if I just need to vent, but I guess writing it all out will help me process what happened. So here's my story. I've always loved cycling. Been doing it since I was a kid, and as an adult it became my escape. My fiancée Lynn wasn't really into it at first, but over time she started tagging along. It was nice, you know? Something we could do together. Then there was Donnie, my best friend since high school. He was a cyclist too, which meant the three of us often went on trips together. This trip was supposed to be special. A week-long ride through the mountains before Lynn and I got married. A final adventure before we settled down. I planned everything: routes, stops, places to camp. It was going to be amazing. But looking back now, I should have seen the signs from the very first day. Lynn was acting different. It wasn't anything obvious, just little things that kept nagging at me. She and Donnie were joking around a lot, more than usual. The kind of flirting that seems harmless but makes you feel like an outsider when you're watching it. At first, I brushed it off. I mean, Donnie was like a brother to me. And Lynn? She was my fiancée. I had no reason to doubt either of them. Then came the first weird moment. We stopped at a small town to grab lunch, and I went to the restroom. When I came back, they were sitting close, whispering about something, and the second they saw me, they went quiet. Lynn laughed awkwardly and said, "Oh, we were just talking about how much you love your bike more than me." I chuckled, but something about it felt off. That evening, while setting up camp, it got worse. We were drinking a little, enjoying the cool night air, and Lynn got really playful with Donnie. She kept playfully slapping his arm, laughing extra hard at his jokes, even leaning on him a few times when she lost balance. Again, maybe nothing. But it was enough to make me feel uneasy. Then Donnie had his accident. A stupid mistake: he misjudged a turn, hit a rock and went flying. Scraped up his arm and twisted his ankle pretty bad. We helped him up and Lynn fussed over him like he was dying. "Oh my God, Donnie. Does it hurt? Do you need to rest? Maybe we should take a break for a day." I offered to fix his bike, while they went ahead to find a motel. She agreed without hesitation, which felt weird. Usually she'd insist on staying with me. But nope, off they went, just the two of them, leaving me behind. As I worked on Donnie's bike alone under the streetlight, a sick feeling settled in my stomach. Something wasn't right. By the time I finished fixing Donnie's bike, it was already dark. I was exhausted, but my gut wouldn't let me rest. Something about the way Lynn and Donnie had taken off together didn't sit right with me. I checked my phone, no messages from Lynn. Nothing. I rode to the motel they were supposed to be at, trying to talk myself down. "She's just helping him," I told myself. "You're overthinking." But deep down I knew something was off. When I got to the motel, the guy at the front desk barely looked up. "You got a room reserved?" he asked, flipping through a notepad. "No, I'm meeting some friends here." "They checked in earlier," I said. "Names?" "Lynn and Donnie." He nodded and pointed down the hall. "Room 203. I stood there for a second, just staring at the door number. My heart was pounding and I had no idea why. It wasn't like I had proof of anything. Maybe they were just resting, maybe I was being paranoid. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, louder. I heard movement inside. Then Lynn's voice, high-pitched and hurried. "Just a second." I froze. There was shuffling, like someone moving quickly. A muffled thud. My stomach dropped. The door opened a crack, just enough for me to see Lynn's face. Her hair was messy, her cheeks flushed. She smiled, too wide, too fake. "Hey babe. What took you so long?" I glanced past her into the room. It was dimly lit, but I could see the bed, sheets rumpled, like someone had just been lying there. No sign of Donnie. "Where's Donnie?" I asked. She blinked. "Oh, he's in the bathroom. He wasn't feeling great, so I told him to rest." I stared at her, waiting. She was talking too fast, her words rushed. Then the bathroom door creaked open and Donnie stepped out, rubbing his head like he just woke up. His shirt was inside out. Inside. Out. "Yo man," he said, forcing a laugh. That fall really messed me up. I just crashed as soon as we got here. I didn't say anything. I just looked at Lynn. She reached for my hand. Come in, babe. We were just talking about you. I pulled my hand back. The room smelled like sweat and cheap motel soap. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. My mind was screaming at me to say something, to call them out, but my body wouldn't move. Instead, I just nodded. Yeah. Long ride. I need some air. Then I turned around and walked out. I don't know how long I stood outside that motel. My legs felt like lead, my head was spinning. I kept replaying what I had just seen. Lynn's nervous smile, Donnie's inside-out shirt, the way the room smelled. I wasn't stupid. I knew what was happening. But I wasn't ready to admit it. Not yet. A few minutes later, Lynn came out. She was all smiles, like nothing had happened. Babe, why are you standing out here? She asked, looping her arm through mine. Come inside, you must be exhausted. I didn't move. You sure I'm not interrupting something? Her grip on my arm tightened. What? No. Donnie just wasn't feeling great, and we were talking while he rested. You know how dramatic he gets. I looked at her, really looked at her. Her hair was still a little messy, her lips slightly swollen. She was trying too hard to act normal. His shirt was inside out, I said. Lynn laughed, but it was forced. Oh my God, you're being ridiculous. He probably just threw it on wrong after washing his face. Come on, stop being weird. I didn't argue. I didn't push. Instead, I just followed her back in like some fool who wanted to believe everything was fine. Inside, Donnie was sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling on his phone. He looked up at me and grinned. Dude, I seriously wiped out back there. My head still spinning. I nodded slowly. Yeah. Looked like a nasty fall. Lynn sat down next to him, too close. I was just telling Donnie that maybe we should take a break from writing tomorrow. Let him rest up. I stared at them. Lynn wouldn't even look me in the eye now. Donnie was doing this fake casual act, but I could see the stiffness in his shoulders. They were lying to me. I forced a smile. Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. That's when I decided. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to yell or demand answers. I was going to wait. Wait and see just how far they were willing to take this. The next morning I woke up early. Didn't sleep much, honestly. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling like an idiot. I kept thinking about all the little moments, things that didn't seem like much at the time but made perfect sense now. The way Lynn had been extra secretive with her phone lately. How she suddenly started wearing perfume on casual rides. The way Donnie had been pulling back from me, like he felt guilty but didn't want to admit it. I wasn't stupid. I knew what was happening. But I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. Lynn was still asleep when I got up. Donnie was snoring on the couch. I got dressed quietly and stepped outside to clear my head. There was a little cafe across the street, so I grabbed a coffee and sat by the window thinking. And then I saw it. Through the motel window I had a perfect view of our room. The curtains weren't fully closed. Inside, Lynn was awake now, sitting on the edge of the bed, looking at Donnie. And then, just for a second, she reached over and touched his arm. Softly. Intimately. I felt sick. I could have walked in right then. Could have blown up, screamed, demanded the truth. But no. I wanted to see how far this would go. So I sat there. And I waited. 20 minutes later, Lynn came outside. She spotted me in the cafe and smiled like nothing was wrong. Oh, there you are. Why'd you leave so early? She asked, sliding into the seat across from me. I took a sip of my coffee, keeping my face neutral. Just needed some air. She yawned and stretched. Yeah, me too. Donnie's still passed out. Poor guy. I nodded. Yeah. Poor guy. She didn't catch the sarcasm. Instead, she reached for my hand across the table and squeezed it. Listen, about last night. You were acting kinda weird. I feel like you didn't trust me or something. I just stared at her. She was actually trying to flip this on me. Before I could respond, Donnie walked up, looking way too fresh for a guy who was supposedly injured. He clapped a hand on my shoulder. "Hey man. Ready to hit the road?" I forced a smile. "Yeah. Let's get moving." But in my head I already knew. I was done. The rest of the morning I played along. I smiled, I laughed at their jokes, I acted like nothing was wrong. But inside, I was watching. Listening. Waiting. Lynn was all over Donnie. Not in an obvious way, she wasn't stupid, but in little ways that made my skin crawl. She kept touching his arm when she talked to him, stealing glances when she thought I wasn't looking. At one point she even reached over and helped adjust the strap on his backpack, her fingers lingering way too long. And Donnie. He was eating it up. Acting casual like he wasn't doing anything wrong, but I could see it. The way he smirked when she laughed at his jokes a little too hard. The way he leaned in just slightly whenever she got close. I wanted to punch him. But no. I wasn't going to explode. Not yet. We rode for a few hours, stopping at a scenic overlook. It was beautiful, mountains stretching for miles, the kind of view that usually made me feel at peace. But I felt nothing. Just numb. Lynn stood next to Donnie, pointing at something in the distance, grinning like this was the best day of her life. Then she turned to me. "Babe, take a picture of us." I stared at her. She actually had the audacity to ask me to take a picture of her and the guy she was cheating on me with. I forced a smile. "Sure." I pulled out my phone, but instead of framing a nice shot, I took a single blurry photo, handed the phone back and walked away. I could hear them laughing behind me. I clenched my fists. I needed to end this. But not yet. By the time we reached the next stop, a small diner in a quiet town, I was running on pure restraint. I had already decided, I wasn't going to cause a scene. I wasn't going to fight or beg for explanations. No, I was going to let them bury themselves. And that's exactly what happened. We grabbed a booth and I sat across from them, watching as Lynn slid in next to Donnie instead of me. She didn't even think about it. Just acted natural, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Donnie stretched his arm across the back of the booth. "Man, this trip is exactly what I needed," he said, grinning. Lynn giggled, nudging him. "Right. So much better than just sitting at home, huh?" I just sipped my water. The waitress came by, took our orders. Lynn was scrolling through her phone when she suddenly giggled and tilted the screen toward Donnie. "Look at this. Remember this?" Donnie smirked, shaking his head. "Oh man. That was wild." I glanced at the screen. It was a picture, one I had never seen before. A dimly lit bar, Lynn and Donnie sitting way too close, both of them grinning at the camera. "When was that?" I asked casually. Lynn's smile faltered. "Oh, just a random night. Nothing special." I looked at Donnie. He wouldn't meet my eyes. That was it. I leaned back, arms crossed. "Weird. I don't remember you mentioning it." Lynn waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, come on, babe. It wasn't a big deal. Just a group hangout." But I wasn't an idiot. I could see the panic flicker across her face. Then, like clockwork, she went into damage control. She reached for my hand across the table, giving me that sweet, reassuring smile. "You trust me, don't you?" I stared at her for a long moment. Then I smiled back. "Yeah. Of course." And just like that, she relaxed. She thought she won. She thought I bought it. But in my head, I was already gone. After that diner slip-up, I didn't need any more proof. I already knew. But part of me wanted to see just how bold they would get. So I played along. The rest of the day I acted normal, maybe even a little extra affectionate toward Lynn. I wanted her to feel safe, to think she had me wrapped around her finger. And it worked. She started easing up, acting more comfortable around Donnie, like she didn't have to hide anymore. That night, we stopped at another small-town motel. Only this time I said I'd sleep in my own room. "I just need some space," I told Lynn. "Long ride, kinda exhausted." She pouted. Are you mad at me? I shook my head. Nah, just tired. She smiled and kissed my cheek. Okay, babe. Sweet dreams. I watched as she and Donnie headed to their room together. She didn't even hesitate. That was all I needed. I didn't go to sleep. Instead, I waited. At around 2 a.m., I crept out of my room and walked past theirs. The light was still on. I stood by the door listening. And then I heard it. Soft laughter. Whispering. A low chuckle from Donnie. And then, Lynn's voice, hushed but playful. Shoo, you're gonna wake him up. I felt my stomach twist. But there was no pain this time. No heartbreak. Just cold, steady certainty. I took a deep breath, turned around and walked away. I wasn't going to fight. I wasn't going to beg. I was just going to leave. The next morning I woke up early, packed my bags and took one last look at the motel room. It felt different now, like I had already left this part of my life behind. I wasn't going to waste my energy on screaming or fighting. They had made their choice. Now I was making mine. I walked out into the crisp morning air, my bike ready to go. The sun was just starting to rise, casting everything in this soft golden light. It should have felt peaceful. Instead, all I felt was numb. Lynn and Donnie were still in their room. I could have knocked. Could have walked in and caught them red-handed. But why? What would that change? They would lie. They would deny. They would twist everything like they always did. I had something better. I pulled out my phone and sent Lynn a text. I know. You and Donnie have a great life. Then, without waiting for a reply, I blocked her number. Blocked Donnie too. I strapped my bag onto my bike, took one deep breath and rode away without looking back. It was over. I rode for hours. Didn't check my phone. Didn't stop. Just kept pedaling, letting the road take me as far away as possible. At some point, I found a small roadside cafe and decided to take a break. I sat outside, ordered a coffee and finally pulled out my phone. 20 missed calls. 15 from Lynn. 5 from Donnie. And the texts? Dozens. Lynn. Babe, what are you talking about? Lynn. Please don't do this. Lynn. Let's talk. You're misunderstanding. Lynn. Where are you? Lynn. Answer me. I scrolled through them, shaking my head. It was exactly what I expected. Panic, excuses, manipulation. And Donnie. Donnie. Dude, I don't know what you think is happening, but you're wrong. Donnie. You're being dramatic. Donnie. At least call Lynn back, man. I smirked. Of course he was trying to downplay it. They always do. I sipped my coffee, watching cars pass by, feeling lighter than I had in days. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Instead, I turned off my phone, got back on my bike and kept moving. Let them panic. Let them scramble. I was done. By the time I reached the next town, my phone was buzzing non-stop. I turned it back on just to check and sure enough, more texts, more calls. But one message from Lynn stood out. Lynn, I'm coming to find you. I sighed. Of course, she wouldn't just let me walk away. I booked a cheap motel for the night, locked my bike up and grabbed a shower. By the time I came out, there was a knock at the door. I already knew who it was. I opened it and there she stood, Lynn, red-eyed, hair a mess, looking like she hadn't slept. She pushed past me into the room without waiting for an invitation. What the hell is this, Benny? She snapped, crossing her arms. You just leave without talking to me? I leaned against the door. I think I said everything in my text. No, you didn't. She shook her head, voice rising. You're acting crazy. You think something happened with Donnie, but you're wrong. I laughed. Actually laughed. That seemed to throw her off. Lynn, I said, calm as ever, I heard you two last night. Her face drained of color. Just for a second. Then she switched tactics. Okay, maybe it sounded bad, but you don't understand. I cut her off. I don't need to understand. I know. She stared at me, lips parted like she was searching for the right excuse. But I wasn't giving her room to spin the story. "So here's how this is gonna go," I said. "You're gonna walk out of this room. You're gonna go back to Donnie or wherever else you wanna go. And I'm gonna move on." She shook her head frantically. "No, Benny, no. You can't just throw everything away over some stupid misunderstanding." I sighed, rubbing my temples. "You made your choice. I'm just making mine." Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't care anymore. She took a shaky breath. "So that's it? You don't even love me?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "I did." Then I opened the door. And after a long moment she walked out. I sat on the bed for a while after she left, just staring at the door. I thought I'd feel something, anger, sadness, regret. But all I felt was relief. That should have been the end of it. But of course it wasn't. An hour later my phone buzzed again. Another text from Lynn. "Lynn, I can't believe you're doing this to me." I sighed. Deleted it. Then another. "Lynn, you're being so cold. I never thought you could be this heartless." And another. "Lynn, you're seriously going to throw away years together over a stupid assumption? I didn't cheat." I ignored it. Let her scream into the void. Then, a new number popped up on my screen. "Donnie." I let it ring out. A voicemail came through, so I played it out of curiosity. "Dude. This is insane. You're blowing everything out of proportion. Just call me back so we can clear this up." "Clear this up? Clear this up?" I shook my head, laughing bitterly. This guy was still acting like I was the problem. Like I didn't hear them. Like I didn't see the way they looked at each other. Then came the real kicker. Another text from Lynn. "Lynn, if you won't talk to me, at least talk to your family. I told them what's happening." I froze. "She what?" My hands tightened around my phone as I read Lynn's last message again. "She told my family." I didn't even know what that meant, but I had a pretty good guess. She was spinning the story to make me look like the bad guy. Before I could decide what to do, my phone rang again. "Mom." I sighed and answered. "Hey, Mom." "Oh, Benny," she said, her voice already thick with concern. "What's going on?" "Lynn just called us and she's hysterical." I exhaled slowly, keeping my voice steady. "And what exactly did she tell you?" Mom hesitated. "She said you accused her of cheating out of nowhere and ran off. She's heartbroken, Benny. She said you won't even talk to her." I closed my eyes. Of course. Playing the victim. Flipping the script. "Mom," I said calmly, "she's lying." There was silence on the other end. Then, Lynn wouldn't lie about something like this. I almost laughed. Wouldn't she? I took a breath, then laid it all out. How she'd been acting weird the entire trip, how she spent the night alone with Donnie at the motel, how I heard them in the middle of the night. Mom didn't say anything for a long time. Then, finally she sighed. "Oh, honey." That's when I knew. She believed me. And just like that, Lynn's plan fell apart. After Mom sighed, there was a long pause. Then she finally spoke. "Honey. I don't know what to say." "There's nothing to say, Mom," I replied. "She cheated. She lied. And now she's trying to make me look crazy for walking away." Mom was quiet for a moment, then sighed again. "Your dad and I were just so shocked when she called. She sounded so broken." I scoffed. "Yeah, I bet she did. Did she tell you she spent the night in a motel room with Donnie? Or that I caught them sneaking around?" "No," Mom admitted. "Of course she didn't." I could hear Dad in the background asking what was going on. Mom must have covered the phone because I heard muffled voices. Then she came back. "Listen, Benny," she said, softer now. "We're on your side. But you know how people get when they're caught. Sometimes they'll say anything to make themselves feel better." "I know," I muttered. "And I don't care. I'm done with her." Mom hesitated. "Then you need to make that clear to her." "Oh, I plan to." Right on cue, another text from Lynn popped up. "Lynn. Babe, I know you're upset, but can we please just talk?" Then another. Lynn, you're misunderstanding everything. I swear I love you. I never meant to hurt you. And then, Lynn, please don't throw this all away over a stupid mistake. A mistake. I exhaled sharply and sent one final reply. Me, you made your choice. Now live with it. Lose my number. Then I blocked her. I sat back and stared at the ceiling, feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Peace. Blocking Lynn should have been the end of it. Should have been my final goodbye. But of course Donnie had to try his hand at damage control. A few hours later my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I already knew who it was. I let it go to voicemail and sure enough, Donnie's voice came through. Dude, seriously? You're gonna ghost me over some stupid misunderstanding? Call me back, man. I shook my head, deleting the message. But before I could put my phone down, another text came in. Donnie, look man. I get it. You're mad. But nothing happened the way you think. Then another. Donnie, I swear we didn't sleep together. Yeah, we got close but it didn't mean anything. You're really gonna throw our friendship away over this? I stared at the message for a long time. Didn't mean anything? Didn't mean anything? This man, the one I called my best friend, was standing in front of me lying to my face just days ago. He thought I'd just let this go? I didn't even respond. Just blocked his number, same as Lynn. I was done giving them chances. They could lie to themselves all they wanted. But I wasn't going to listen. After blocking Donnie, I expected that to be the end of it. But people like them, they don't just give up. The next morning I woke up to an email from Lynn. Subject, please just hear me out. Lynn, Benny, I don't know what else to do. You won't answer my calls, you blocked me everywhere. I can't lose you like this. Please just talk to me. We can fix this. I didn't respond. An hour later, a notification popped up. New message request on Instagram. Donnie, bro. Be a man and talk to me. I laughed. Actually laughed. This guy had the nerve to call me out after everything? Blocked. I spent the rest of the day ignoring them. Ignoring everything. For the first time in days I felt free. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went out. Alone. Found a bar, had a drink, talked to some strangers. Nothing crazy, just existing without them in my head. And it felt good. I wasn't healed. Not yet. But for the first time I wasn't drowning in their lies. I wasn't looking for answers I'd never get. I was just me. And that was enough.
Goodbye.